but I'm looking for the next evolution of this where I can connect it to my Drive and it'll automatically back up some of these chats. Or like you said, you have notebooks, right? What happens suddenly, like you said, legislation, suddenly I can't access stuff. There's a data storage kind of separation, something happens and it's lost in ether. I mean,
yep.
Yeah.
We should be recording this.
We are, because I hit the button because I've learned.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, I see it now. Okay. Sneaky.
Because when you started talking, I was like, oh, I'm going to push the button. And I did.
Welcome, everyone, to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your weekly source of news and updates from the world of the Power Platform and the Microsoft community, with your host, Nick Dolman and Ulrike Ackerbeck.
Because I expect that when they created Plan Designer or whatever it's called this week, I mean, they didn't just start from some scratch. They started from a lot of other solutions being made and a lot of other data models, and they backtracked and they helped. You see the manifest type instruction prompts that they're using for generated pages or code apps. It doesn't come out of thin air. They've spent a lot of time creating that prompt. And as we'll see in some of the news articles that we'll talk about today as well, prompting is now just, and as we've said so many times before, the quality of what you make is really very tightly tied to the prompt, the quality of the prompts that you're using. So, yeah. And with that, let's just dive into the list of news, because we have a big ton of news to get through, just as always.
Yeah.
Do you want to start at the top with our good friend Thomas Hansen?
So Thomas, as sometimes he does, basically just pulled the pin out of a grenade and threw it into LinkedIn, and but this is funny because this post doesn't seem to die. It just I keep seeing comments and things like that poking up from it, and basically it's linking to a post that he did. It's called "Low Code is Dead-ish: From Canvas Hacks to React Apps," and really talking about, basically calling out Canvas apps for the walking dead, because from here, we're going to be able to build pro code applications using AI, and sort of getting rid of that layer in between. Because at the end of the day, like, I think my point is you're making code. At the end of the day, it's going to be ones and zeros running on silicon. At the end, it's going to be binary code. So this is a way of our makers going to be able to kind of utilize that, working with professional developers. Like, is Canvas apps going to be a thing? And it is, I think for now it is, but it's like in the future, is pro code going to take over that? And so anyways, we'll have the links, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen this. There is a ton of different camps appearing in this, from the, yes, this is the future, this is the way it's going to go, to other folks. So no, low code is so not dead. Yes, AI is great, but we're going to be able to continue on with Power Effects and Canvas apps, and this will never go away. And to, the other side of like, no, AI it's generating garbage. You're not going to be able to maintain it in governance, and all the issues that we're talking about. So it's really a great article. But really, in terms of thought provoking, and basically, Thomas's point is Microsoft is killing low code as we know it. I don't think they're killing it. I think they're evolving it. That's my take on it. Like, yeah, the days of I think we're still going to live in a drag and drop world, but I'm not sure if it's going to necessarily generate that YAML code that we're seeing. I think we're going to see more and more of yes, we could do drag and drop, but that's going to be working with AI tools, and it's going to be generating probably more pro code. And I'm looking at React or TypeScript or some of those existing frameworks that have been well established. And I think that's that's my opinion, and we don't know, but we take a look at things like generative pages, code apps, single page applications on Power Pages. These are all kind of, and the common theme with them is they're generating React code. And in my video that I did last week, I dove into it just to try to get my head wrapped around it. And it's like, yeah, this is very approachable stuff. It is pro code, but with the tools we have now, it's not to say, I'm not going to suggest that makers are going to be generating, coding React directly, but they're going to be using tools that is going to be generating React code. And we're seeing this already. that's sort of where the features, the future, I think, is going. And I kind of agree with Thomas on that. And in his very last line in his blog post, he said, low code isn't dead, it just grew up. And I think that's a very powerful statement. It is growing up, it's evolving. So yeah, that was I think quite the it was a LinkedIn article. It was a blog post, and there's still comments coming, and I haven't even been able to keep up on everything like that. Not sure what your thoughts are on this, or if you have a different opinion than I do.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I just, just continuing on what you're saying, because I think this shows that the Power Platform is a platform that is evolving with the times. So you talk about lock-in effects and the platform. I think this is just proving that when everything else around is changing, the platform keeps up. So when vibe coding is a thing and role prompting and using AI Copilot as a coding buddy, the platform keeps up and enables us to create, pages for model-driven apps, new code apps from scratch using the professional developer tools that the professional React developers have used forever. And also with Power Pages, the same thing. And so I'm happy to see that the YAML kind of layer, like you said, is gone, because that spaghetti thing we didn't really need to begin with. And also I expect that we won't see a lot of investments in the drag and drop designer interfaces going forward, because I think the idea that the citizen dev is going to create an enterprise application is kind of gone. And if someone is going to create an application, it's going to be for the thing that they're going to use it for right then and there, and then it's going to be discarded until next time they'll need something similar. They'll just vibe themselves to another application or whatever it is that they need at the moment. We've talked about this before. So I find when I read the Thomas's article, I loved it because it was just echoing. If you listen back to some of our previous episodes, this is exactly what we've been talking about in the previous episodes, I find. So it was really nice to see that he kind of had the same take we did. And keeping a kind of a finger on the pulse on this one, really.
Yeah, and I think you as well. Like, Thomas is our friend, right? So we've had a few conversations offline as well, kind of surrounding a little bit this about the future and things like that. A few little rants and whatnot. So yeah. Anyways, and this like it's interesting, kind of leading with his thing. So maybe he'll listen to the podcast a little bit more often.
Yeah, because that's also a lifelong goal of ours, right? To get Bridge and Thomas to listen to this podcast. The things we do, you wouldn't believe. But it kind of segues a little bit into another friend of ours, Magnus Gether Sørensen. He wrote a LinkedIn article saying that I've written less than 10% of my code in the last 3 weeks, talking about having production code from AI generated production code, and his experiences with that. This is my one. I put this one in here, right? And he talks a little bit about what it's like to be a coder versus an architect as well. So you might think that as a coder, professional coder, you won't be out of a job for a very long time. But also, when you try to use AI services for the architecture job, it kind of shows itself into a bit of a loop where it's caught in the it depends loop that we also find ourselves in. But as human architects, we make decisions, and we know from experience that in certain situations, and what small little detail that is that makes us make a decision on the decision tree kind of thing and results in a decision. Whereas AI is going to be stuck in that loop because it all depends and it can't really find its own way out. And that kind of speaks to our quality as humans in the loop, being able to actually make those decisions. So sure, it can help us along the way, but definitely not with everything. And he also wrote a tool, didn't he? Let me just...
Yeah, the XRM Bedrock.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on GitHub. From a very, very high level, I didn't dive too deep into it, but it looks really cool. I definitely need to explore that for some other projects I'm working on right now. So, it goes back to, I think, a lot of the, what I see with coding. And you talked about prompting, or what's they call prompt engineering or context engineering. A lot of even the stuff that I've done lately, it's like the prompt that you start with makes all the difference in the world in terms of what you're trying to build. And this is part of it too. And this is, I think, is again, what we said, this is where solution architects are so important. Because it's not like we're telling AI to take over for us. We're basically, instead of writing something in C#, we're basically saying, here's what I want written. We're basically taking that C#, making it another layer up into natural language, but it's generating C#. And then the fact that we have this expertise like Magnus does in terms of interpreting that code, seeing what it does, and verifying that it is doing what it's meant to do, verifying that it is secure. But we're doing it a lot faster because it's sort of like, as opposed to we're, building something from scratch, something's getting built, but we can still tangibly look at it and make sure it's exactly what we want. And then if not, we go back.
Yeah. So just reading up just to see what the Extreme Bedrock is, it's a template for, so it's a project template to make it easier to work with Dataverse and Azure together. So it shows a modern development paradigms are applicable to Dataverse. This is too codey for me, but better in-code description, for example, to increase adoption, new way of handling web resources, clean up Dataverse service, and deploying data. So, if that's something that rings a bell in your brain, check it out, and well done, Magnus. Because this just reminded me of the post that I saw from Diana Birkelbach, the PCF lady, as she calls herself. She made a time tracking generative pages in Fluent9. And in her experience, I think one of the important conclusions she makes is what we said in the beginning. Your app will only be as good as your prompt was. And that is very important. And also, it will not always listen to you. So if you wanted to just adhere to Fluent9 design framework, you have to be very adamant when you tell it to do that and give it very explicit description on how to do that. And we saw that in Scott's video, and he created this as well. The manifest, the document, the thing that he gives it as an instruction prompt is like eons long. And there's a reason why he has to do that, because it needs to be so specific for it to do what you want it to do. And so I think that just echoes kind of what we're trying to say with all of these posts that we're bringing up, is that prompting is so important, and shit in, shit out. I think that's the conclusion.
But, and that was the thing about reading Diana's posts and playing a little bit with generative pages as well myself. One of the blockers right now that I see, and I'm hoping they fix this, because I saw another post about someone kind of ranting about generative pages as well, is yes, you put it in the prompt, you can give it all the prompting you want, it will generate that code, but you can't go in and tweak and edit that code directly. If there's something not quite right, you basically have to reprompt, and then it goes back and regenerates something. So, which I find, a little bit unfortunate, because a lot of times it's like, okay, I just want to change that little thing. I see the code. I see where I want to change the code. I know the line I want to change or the thing I want to add, but this process the way it sits this time, and of course, everything's constantly evolving. We can't not yet go in and edit that. I'd love for it to have the little Visual Studio Code button like we have in Power Pages, where I can just click and then boom, I can make those little edits. Because I did see a post and I meant to grab the link, and unfortunately, because someone was complaining going, well, yeah, generative pages, you say it's so great. I tried it, but then I needed to move this and this. If I did it in Canvas apps, I would have been able to open and drag and drop, and everything would have been fixed. And fair enough. But if you're able to go and edit the code, you'd be able to do pretty much the same thing just as quickly to fix that particular thing. So, this is, but again, it's still in preview, so it's still, we can't move it in solutions. There's a bunch of roadblocks still in place, but it's still important that we have people playing with it, people like Diana creating these things and posting it online, because this is the type of information Microsoft is going to take back and see this kind of evolve. And I'm hoping that we can at least get to some point where we can begin to apply this into projects, kind of that preview purgatory that we sometimes talk about, because I think that's where the rubber is going to hit the road. Are we going to get generative pages, or is it going to be degenerative pages? So hoping for the generative pages.
Yeah, and did you see the latest post from Jukka? Or probably not the latest, but he had a post about this.
The shiny new shit? Yes. It's a good segue.
Shit. Oh, fantastic. I love it. So he starts his post with, it's like the selecting JavaScript libraries in 2024 hit. Trying to figure out how to build with Power Platform in 2025. Everything old is dead, but the new things will be different by next week. And it's also in preview, right? So he has a fantastic blog post about this. Apps are dead. Copilot's the AI UI for AI. Generative Pages will replace Canvas apps. Just chat with AI to build a UI. Canvas apps will unblock code first development in Power Platform. I love it. And also, just like Thomas's post, this also blew up, and it has a lot of comments and a lot of reactions. So, and I feel this personally or professionally as well, talking to customers, because it's hard to go to a customer conversation now and advocate for Canvas apps. I find that really difficult. And Power Pages, same thing. Or I wouldn't advocate for you going in and starting with one of the templates and start using that and build Power Pages on top of that when I know the SPA is around the corner, right? So it is one of those purgatory things where you don't want to be an advocate for the traditional way of solving it, but the new way of solving it isn't yet out of preview. So what do you do? But I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, where we need to be confident enough to try and to start using the preview stuff without using it in production, and work with the product to always help push and also give the feedback that Mark said, because they do listen to the feedback. We talked about this so many times, and we have to keep emphasizing, keep using, keep testing, and keep giving your feedback, because that's the only way that we'll be able to push this forward in the right direction. Because trust me, they will move it in the wrong direction if we don't. So it's kind of on us to help this along, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to be fair, like it is, he lists off all the, and of course, like Jukka likes to stir the pot quite like this way a little bit. But it's also, again, we've talked about this, exactly what you said too. We're in a transition, and it's easy to dismiss something like plan designers or whatever, like do they call it like creating plans or intelligent app? Like I'm doing a session on this, and I always struggle what it is I'm calling it this week. But to me, it's like when I first looked at it in the first video I did like last December, it was like, yeah, it couldn't do a lot of things, but we saw the vision of what it was coming to. And what I liked about it is it was forcing you to make sure you think ahead a little bit on building your app. You talk about creating big, long manifests. Part of, the plan designer as well. You can't just the prompts, like create me an HR app. Like, yeah, don't start there. Your prompt should be, or your context engineering should be at least a paragraph or two as a starting point. You need to think these things through. And then, yes, it's still, still missing a few things. But of course, we saw this week, there's new updates. So it's already incrementally adding these things just to make it better. So that's the thing. You're seeing the evolution. And the cool thing is, this is why sometimes things, I believe, it's a catch-22, right? So I believe this is why sometimes Microsoft will push something into a GA mode, like Plan Designer, which is technically GA, even though some of us might feel it's not quite ready for prime time. But we need to it's like anything, you need to start somewhere. You need to actually start getting people to use it to get the feedback to evolve it correctly. Generative Pages is another one that I think when it does go GA, a lot of people will probably say it's too early. But again, we need it in something like maybe not mission critical scenarios, but some production scenarios to actually get the telemetry, the feedback to make sure that these things are working. I know we're belaboring this point. So you see something like shiny new shit. It's easy to read through these things going, okay, this is all garbage. I'm just going to go back to creating my Canvas apps and my model-driven apps like I did for the past 5 years. It's like, yeah, no, you need yes, it is crappy now, but it's on a path, and it's whether we like it or not. If you're going to have to get on board eventually with it. So
you say that, but I had someone bitching about the new interface for PPAC the other day. I was like, yeah, they're still going to remove the old PPAC. I'm like, what? You're still on the old one? You haven't fucking the toggle. It's like, yeah, it's going away. I was like, really? Really? You're still on the old clunky? How? It takes forever. Oh, okay. Okay. People are like that. But
it's got. Yeah. It's gone. I just load PPAC now. There's no way back to the classic. I think it's today's the day.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I'm going to call a buddy of mine and see how he's doing. He's probably crawled up on the floor crying by now, but that's another thing. I have 5 different segues in my head as you were talking, so I'm trying to get back to okay, so we need to separate 2 things. So something is in preview, it's not ready for production yet. But something like Plan Designer, what it is that you create, it's a data model, it's a flow, it's an app, it's a site. But those things that you create, they are GA. So when the product is released out of preview and into GA, meaning you can use it in production, something like Plan Designer, and you touched on this, I think, 2 episodes ago, where you need to separate between a product and a feature. So when something's a feature and it's not, you can use it in production because what's kind of put into production is ready and has been ready for a while and is battle tested. That's another thing. So bringing Plan Designer or Planning Power Apps or whatever it's called this week out of into GA and still evolving it isn't that big of a thing for me. And just think about Canvas apps, for instance. This week, you look at the Pulse, the advocacy team puts up this Power Platform Power Apps Pulse thing. The 2 things that came out this week was the user, they had an acronym, UDFs, the user defined functions, which is your ability, where you can create your own function, global functions, and then you can call them using other functions. So it's kind of a way to, and to be fair, to be honest, I didn't realize that was in GA yet. And I kind of expected that Canvas apps were able to handle that already in my ignorance, because why wouldn't it? But that just goes to show you, I mean, how long have we had Canvas apps? Like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? I don't know.
Oh, longer.
And it's still, and it's still evolving, right? So the fact that Plan in Power Apps, because that's the other new thing that came out on the Pulse this week, was that now Plan in Power Apps is able to connect to existing tables in Dataverse. You ask it to create that HR thing that you made before. It would create a candidate as a new table. Now you can explicitly say, for candidates, use contacts, and it will recognize contact from the standard data model and connect to that instead. I think that if they waited until they had all of this sorted out before they release something out of preview, we would be, kind of falling behind. This is why this platform is actually pushing the bar in terms and staying relevant and up to date. This is the price we have to pay for that to be possible.
Yeah, it would be like, the thing is, if it's always in preview, it would end up being abandonware. And we do see some of that, unfortunately, because something's been in preview for so long that it just doesn't get the feed and eventually dies in the vine, because they look at the backend telemetry and they're like going, oh, well, no one's using this, so why are we investing money on it? Well, no one's using it because it's not GA yet. But then it's funny too, because like when they announce something like, oh, well, Plan Designer now uses, tables that are already existing, or you can specify the tables, and it's sort of like, I don't know if that's something to celebrate or that's something that, okay, that should have been there a long time ago. So, but there's a balance there, right? It's sort of like, I don't know. It's I don't know. I sit here like, I'm not one creating I know the work that gets involved in creating these features more than anyone, because I was definitely heavily involved in it on the sidelines, creating the documentation a couple of years ago. So I get the stress and the focus and, where the pressures come from. And it's not always from MVPs writing a blog post bitching about something. It comes from other pressures as well. But the cool thing with that, where I was going with this. Yeah, there are some features that, the Plan Designer, but you said about the features that we assume that we're already GA. There's sometimes I'm doing something and I'm looking at I pop over the documentation. I'm like, why is the preview tag still there? Like, I thought this was good to go. But yeah,
100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, I mean, maybe all the development juices went into the new MCP wizard thingy.
I saw that this morning. You posted there. I didn't know that. That was a new one for me. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. So the whole new thing is now the new MCP connector creation wizard is now public preview, which is a lot of fun. So what you do is when you have an agent and you go in and you choose new tool, then you can choose the MCP, and then there's a guided process that helps you, no code, just config, to create a new MCP that allows you to connect to an external data source. It just have to have an endpoint URL, and then you can connect and generate that custom connector. And that's amazing news for all the no coders that think that MCP has been a bit too devy, because you need a bit of tooling and you need a bit of this and that, and then you have to install things that npm something they don't really understand. But this helps you do that, from a more config perspective.
Yeah, and there's a lot you can do. Like, this is the thing, like, we're still trying to wrap our heads, I think, around what MCP server can do. But you imagine you can now interact with Dataverse through, like, they give the example of the Claude desktop for some reason. But again, it's about how all of these other tools are beginning to very much interact, so you can truly choose the best tool for the best job of what you're working on. You don't necessarily have to be necessarily tied to a Microsoft tool, although like they're evolving like all the rest. But it does kind of open up a lot of integration scenarios and things like that. There's still some limitations and everything like that. And I did ask the question to the team in terms of performance and things like that. How is it comparable to like connecting through Dataverse through an API or something? And they claim that it's comparable, but we'll see where the proof is in the pudding when we actually begin to see these in real life scenarios and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then it kind of becomes down to the right tool for the right job type of thing, right? So if you just want to connect to data purely, then use a Dataverse API. But if you need more kind of RAG, or you need something more around the data retrieval, you need more intelligence in that, then maybe the MCP is a better option. Because you have the concept, it's not just the API, it's the tooling and the resources around it that you get with the MCP that you don't get with the API, of course, which only has the one thing. So it depends. See? Did it. And also, this reminds me, because did you check out the latest episode for the Local Revolution with Eliza?
I haven't. I did see the link, but I did want to check that out because, I've been collaborating with Eliza on a few other things.
That's why I thought maybe you've seen it. Because it really opened my eyes to what you can do with agent to agent, or not open my eyes, but it was a fun setup, right? So you have a fellow MVP, Sudeep Ghatak. I think that's right, Sudeep Ghatak, showing how he set up an agent to agent. No, sorry, a multi-agent orchestration type scenario for HR, where you have one agent that is responsible for onboarding new people. You have a list of new candidates in SharePoint, and you have a list of devices, and then you have a logging system in Dataverse, and then it created a Canvas app on top of it. So all the agents, they report or create log entries into the Dataverse table, and then you had a Canvas app on top that showed the SharePoint lists, the Dataverse table, and then also he had an agent that was connected to hotels.com for booking reservations, right? So it was such a fun thing where he had just a trigger, and the one agent goes off. So he just had the different candidates on the list, and he'd choose so onboard or hire or something. And that agent then kicks off, hires the new person, assigns new devices to that person, finds hotel booking, and kind of allocates all of that. And all of them always log their interaction between one another. And he gave the agents, of course, he did specific names, and you have to be very clear and concise with your naming, so that in your instructions, and he shows all the instructions and names and what he does, and very clear and concise and tidy, which is part of the success with this, because then the agent understand what the other agents are doing. And he had different profile pictures or icons for the different agents. So then you can see in Dataverse afterwards, this agent said that to this one, and this one said that to this. It became like a process. If you'd given those agents real names and pictures, that would look freakishly like colleagues. I mean, the line is so thin on this one. And I just had a conversation out in the open space here earlier today with someone working at a company doing HR systems. And HR, for some reason, HR seemed to be the favorite use case scenario for replacing humans with agents. Isn't that weird, considering that's kind of the most human-to-human interaction thing we have? If it was finance or, anything but HR. But it's because of the LLMs. I mean, it fakes human interaction so well. Yeah.
And I think HR, I think finance is the next one to get hit, because HR and finance, they're very procedural type things. So you go into HR, here's like HR, for employee onboarding, every company, and when I had my company, we had this as well. We actually got an HR professional to build this for us. We had an onboarding manual, and it's a binder, and you go through these steps, and you have to make sure the skills that you need payroll set up. So this just is perfect for an agent because it's very repeatable, but then sometimes you need a little bit of that AI flavor into it to kind of deal with a little bit of these exceptions or the particular set of data or situation. Like, okay, this person is living in the next province over, so their tax implications are different and blah, blah, blah. So having these agents kind of take care of all that in an HR scenario makes sense. I think finance is the same way. Invoice processing, payables, all of that, again, very procedural. So I guess maybe there's a little bit of nervousness there because you're dealing with money and transactions. But again, this is sort of the fact that agents can be employees. Like, I'm looking at that for my one person business. I'm also looking at, okay, I can do things as a solopreneur that I not necessarily could have done before because I can now invoke agents to do certain things that will take it off my plate. That's part of what I'm exploring right now, which is it's interesting, also a little bit scary as well. But I think this also opens up the door for a lot more other things. So HR, they can deal with, they can kind of deal with more of those more important kind of human to human interactions and sort of leave the procedural stuff to the agents to do that kind of work. And again, so talk about agents and things like that. Did you finish the Agent Academy, the recruit section yet?
No, sorry. Haven't had the time to do that. Have you?
So I wrapped it up yesterday, actually.
Nice.
Again, I know we talked about it this last episode again, but if you for some reason missed that or whatever, and you want to get ramped up in agents, this content is by far some of the best I've ever seen. And shout out to the team. Of course, like I know I gave some feedback to Eliza, a couple little things I ran into. And of course, she got back to me right away to say, I'm going to make those fixes, whatever. It to me, because the way it breaks down the explanation and then gives you that hands-on stuff to try. I'm looking forward to the next two sections. And I've sent that link to a few people that have been like, oh, we're trying to figure out agents and this and that. Like, here, go through this. This is, yeah. So sorry, that was a segue there. But
No, it's perfect. Yeah, absolutely love it. So it's on the books for this week actually to get through it. So, but you know what it's like? I have all this free time on my hands, and then suddenly there's something coming in left, right, and center. The list of to-dos and things to dive into is just too long. I need to learn how to say no to things, I think. But I'm going to try to finish that for sure. So, in terms of other news, I see there's a few items here that we haven't talked about that was on your list. So you do want to dive into one of the first ones here? Yeah.
So a little one about our friend Joe Gill in Ireland. Again, this to me was just sort of as much as we talk about AI copilots, all the new shiny shit, let's look at some of the day-to-day stuff of people solving problems. I think that's also a core of this podcast. And for
that's our episode title for sure.
Oh, shiny new shit. Oh yeah, I've already written it down.
Easy.
So
thank you, Jukka.
Oh yeah, for sure. Joe Gill, he wrote some of Power Apps real-time updates. Basically, and it's true. He said Power Apps and Power Pages specifically, they don't support receiving information real time. And they would kind of rely on polling, meaning they got to go and check something. Is there new information? Is there new information? Whether check every few minutes, whatever. But anyways, he's implemented a method using WebSockets to have a persistent two-way connection using SignalR and Socket.io for Node.js. So this is very code heavy. But it is pretty cool. He supplies the code, and his use case is interesting. It is about parking fines. So I'm kind of guessing he might be experiencing this directly. So
there might be a story there.
Joe, did you get a few parking tickets lately? Maybe. But anyways, check out that link.
Story with us, please. We'd love to see the pictures and hear that story. We're going to see him at Nordic, I'm sure. So we'll get the whole shebang there. Hopefully, yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. Okay, cool. Oh, that's awesome. So, and then another one, So this is kind of interesting to me is in terms of email marketing. So we all still, like, I receive newsletters by email. I receive other emails. And the thing is, if I don't every so often check my junk email box, I'm like, holy crap, if I would have missed this because this email went to my junk inbox. And this could be something from a session submission that I got selected for, or some other newsletter, or even some like responses and things like that. So there's stuff that ends up in my junk mail that I'm like, this is truly not junk. And then there's other stuff that I'll get in my regular inbox. And like, this is garbage. Why am I getting this? Like, the Nigerian prince, that has that $15 million sitting in a holding account where only I can somehow cash it in.
I thought that was just me. Oh.
Maybe you're lucky. Like, so, yeah. But anyways, our friend Polina Cold, she's actually blogging a lot lately on customer insights and journey, which I will admit I am not an expert in. I know what it does, but that's basically the extent of it. But she had a really interesting article on why emails fails to deliver and what you can do. So she made an email bounce cheat sheet to help those people working with customer insights and journeys make better email campaigns, capabilities, and things like that. And some really good tips and tricks and things like that to really make sure that if you're firing off emails, that they make sure they get to the right people in the right time into their inboxes, not into their spam. So thanks, Polina, for that. Like, I love all your content, and sometimes I wish I knew more about customer insights and journeys just to understand a little bit more. But yeah, she does amazing content. So check out that post plus all her other ones. She's one of these. She's been an MVP now, I think, for 1 or 2 years now, and just amazing content.
Yeah, absolutely. And she does amazing sessions as well. So if you get a chance to see her at one of the upcoming events, I know that she does a lot of events, especially in Europe, then make sure to attend one of her sessions. It's always gold.
Absolutely.
And speaking of small little helpful things, I saw a post from Radovan Santa. Jeez, I need to practice these names. But that was about auto categorization. So you have a Canvas app, he just had some sort of data entry, and you wanted to an agent or to automatically categorize that entry for him. And I find, so this was one of those things where I had an expense sheet type automation where I would upload an image, and I wanted an agent to kind of pull the information from that image and just automatically deploy. But then also the expense type, right? So how do you determine what type it is? And then, of course, you use AI to do that. So you have an agent going in, you tell it all the basic details about the data entry, and that will automatically choose the right category for you. So this is just a small little ones. The LinkedIn, the type of things that you click through, just showing a diagram.
Yeah.
There are documents, but so showing kind of the diagrams and little illustrations of what he called at what time and what the services did and how it kind of got back to the Canvas app that he used to create this. So small little thing, small little tip, but also unlocking. If you're kind of looking at doing this but didn't know where to start, this is a good blueprint to adopt just to try it out.
Yeah. Awesome. No, that looks cool. This is exactly what one of the things I'm working on right now is just to manage my expenses because I'm going to be traveling again. Then I'm going to get into all this expense and following up and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm. So what if you could just have a folder with images, and every time there's a new image, AI goes in and creates a new Dataverse entry, just shows a date and amount and automatically categorizes it for you. And then once you have 2 or 3 or more on a certain date, it kind of pulls it together and goes, did you go to Vegas by any chance? Because this is an expense report and all of these lines in it. It's the dream. And then if I could just, and I almost don't tell anyone, but I kind of the other day tried to hack my way into kind of pushing data into our own internal finance and operations system. I removed all my tracks because I couldn't do it, but I tried.
Good. That's perfect. So you don't even need to think, like, to me, I just want to have a receipt, take a picture, that don't need to worry about it. Off to the accountant.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Fantastic.
I think we're close.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
Cool.
doable. I mean, if we can book hotel rooms for people, I mean, come on.
Cool. Just seeing what else I know we've hopped all over the list. I do want to talk a little bit about, actually first, this one about the child response to a parent. A parent wants to make it faster by Johan. That was yours. You want to talk about that? That's a technical one in Power Automate.
No, it's a small one. It's on the same lanes as the things we've talked about already, because it's fun to talk about these huge AI existential crisis things, but then we kind of also want to bring it down to the nitty gritty little details. And this is one of those things where Johannes Ernström, he have a LinkedIn post. It's also one of those carousels that talks about how you can actually make child responses faster. So you have parent and child Power Automate flows. And usually what you do, and which I do all the time, is that you call a child flow. That child flow runs all the way to the end. And then you have the response to parent action. But actually what he does is he responds to the parent at once. That's the first action in the child. What happens is the parent get notice, the child is done, and it continues. It doesn't wait anymore because it will wait for the child to respond. So then they move simultaneously down and finishes. So the child will move independently of the parent and they'll finish on their own time. So it's a way to make your child kind of parent flow dynamic go a bit faster. So it'll be more snappy. Of course, you won't get the result back if you do that. So, and you won't know if it fails or if it finishes. So it's just for certain use cases. But I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's definitely a great pattern. I definitely probably will steal more or be inspired by that.
Yeah, for certain scenarios, it's very good.
Yeah.
And also something else I came across that I wanted to mention if I can. Something called msportals.io, which was new to me, but it's a collection of links to all the Microsoft portals. There's a few links on this list. I'll tell you, they're not few, but this is a list of all of those. So yeah, just a little collection there for you.
Yeah, no, that's a great resource. I'm bookmarking that right as we speak because that is actually I do have a bookmark already. So yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, good resource. I did want to talk a little bit about a new podcast with Mark and Meg Smith. I think everybody knows who Mark Smith is. If you know Mark, you probably have met Meg or know Meg as well because she's working a lot with Mark on things like the 90-day mentoring challenge, plus some other initiatives as well. And they have started something called the AI Advantage podcast. Now, everybody knows Mark Smith as the he's been doing a Power Platform Dynamics 365 CRM podcast for quite a long time, maybe not as long as someone like Marcus. But yeah, but still, Mark's well known for his podcasting stuff. So they're doing a podcast together. It's interesting. It's all about their sort of their journey into AI when they started using it. They're different. It's nice because they have very contrasting approaches to it. If anybody has met Mark is already kind of, his name's at the top of the list for the next AI implant that they're going to do that. Yeah. Meg's a lot more kind of on the opposite side, a little bit more cautious, a little bit more scared, but trying things out and realizing the journey as well. So it's an interesting podcast. They're going to have a whole series of these. I did reach out to both of them and kind of congratulate them on this. And they said they're stealing our format by just having the conversation between the two of them. They're not doing interviews and things like that. So I took that as a compliment to us because that's sort of like our format there, which of course we stole from Lisa and Megan. But anyways,
yep.
it's all
still with pride, make it your own. Oh yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. That's what we're all about.
So check out the link. The link is there. It's on Spotify and all the other podcasts. So again, it's like, there's plenty of things to do when you're out on your run or doing your gardening, you're off to the gym or that kind of thing. In terms of podcasts, a lot of great stuff coming out to help you kind of stay grounded and inspired and not be all doom and gloom. Versus the, AI is going to save the world to AI is going to destroy the world by 2050. If you've watched the latest Diary of a CEO podcast, but anyways, we'll continue on from there. So so check that out. And then, you posted it here, but I saw that as well. Mark Christie did some arts and crafts. You want to talk about that?
I think Mark is already bored by staying in Norway because we are a weird little introverted bunch. So he decided to make a poster out of his lanyards from different events. So he posted a big picture of the MVP and then kind of the outcut of the MVP logo. He had all his lanyards lined up and it was really cool and colorful. And then you could all see all the events that he went to. So I thought that was a nice use of the lanyards that we all have hanging like you do on the wall behind you, on the door behind you, which I also have on in my office as well. So that was just a good creative thing. And also I saw some. Sorry, yeah.
No, I was about to say, if any of our listeners have done creative things with either the lanyards or the cards or the T-shirts that we get or any of the swag that's a little bit different, like we talked about Paulina earlier. Paulina's a big knitter. I learned this about her this spring. So if you're doing stuff out of a little bit like this, like the arts and crafts stuff, share it with us. And we definitely love to highlight it.
Well, yeah, 100%. We absolutely love that. So, and Pauline, I'm just saying, maybe your duck is going to be a bit cold, in the winter time. So maybe it should get a sweater. Not to, and speaking of ducks, this is fantastic. This is a great episode. I saw something that I wanted to ask you about. So on my LinkedIn feed, suddenly there was something called Rubber Duck Tuesday by GitHub, and it was a kind of a live thingy. But so I looked into it, and it was one of those. I tried to read up on it, and it seems like there's just this scheduled thing happens every week. Open table, anyone can join in. It's live and it's recorded, and you can ask anything. Use anyone as a rubber duck for anything, and just open mic. Oh my God.
Awesome.
Have you seen that before?
No, I saw the link when you put it in there. I had not seen that. But yeah, I sort of checked it out. It was like live last Thursday was our last one. So yeah, interesting. It's so cool.
Very. Yep, I know. Oh yeah, Thursday, not Tuesday. Sorry. That's my mistake. So anyone have anything and they need someone to rubber duck it with, I guess you just, join that call and ask away. Hopefully, awesome. If that helps you, let us know because that would be a lot of fun.
Cool.
All right. So this I just wanted to mention in terms of events before we go that Nordic Summit is right around the corner. If you haven't got your ticket yet, please do. We're both going to be there. I'm going to be interviewing people. So I'm going to run around with a microphone, talking to all kinds of people. We're trying to get to do a live recording of the Boost podcast while we're there. We're going to do a recap anyways. So something's going to come out of Nordic Summit for Boost anyhow. And then we're just going to be there and have lots of fun. And you're going to do the closing keynote, which I'm so excited about, which is going to be so much fun.
Yep. Yeah. I'm actually starting my tour tomorrow, flying out tomorrow afternoon, actually. And first stop, Finland, collab days, then Baltic Summit, which will be my first time in Poland. I'm looking forward to getting to know the people in that community a little bit more. And then an Experts Live UK. And then from there, Nordic Summit. So a lot of back-to-back events, but it's going to be definitely a very fun trip. Really looking forward to it. And doing at Nordic Summit, yes, the closing keynote, which it's going to be exciting. It's going to be looking for very friendly faces in the crowd because it's kind of a very personal topic for me, and I'm looking forward to that support as well. But I'm also doing a session with Magnus Gether on Power Pages, and we've been collaborating back and forth. And Manju is just so enthusiastic; it's very infectious. So looking forward to doing that session with her. She gets so excited about these things within Power Pages. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So yeah, and get your tickets,
fantastic.
People, don't wait. It's because Guru 2 years ago, she was chasing people out the door that didn't have a ticket. So get your ticket.
Yeah, when we were in Copenhagen, we sold out and she had to turn people away at the door. So get your ticket. Don't just fly in and think you can walk through the door. Get your ticket now. It's September 19th to 20th. So yeah, definitely looking forward to see you there. And I think that's a wrap up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.
See ya. Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. Make sure to leave a rating and review of your favorite streaming service, and makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on the social media platforms and make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your hosts, Ulrika Åkerbeck and Nick Dolman, and see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.